Rude and Crude and number 2. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to The Croods, A New Dawn. So this is the second Croods movie. And we reacted to the first, if you remember, back in March. I know it's been quite a while. But I decided I just wanted to get to this. I was kind of looking over like everything I had in my donation rewards list, everything that has been requested. And I saw this and I'm like, why have I not gotten to that yet? So I decided, you know what, this sounds like a good idea. I just want something really fun, really nice. Let's get to the Croods. So, the first movie was honestly a lot better than I was expecting because I didn't expect to like it. I thought it was going to be, like one of those kind of dumb animated films that was just made to entertain kids and didn't really have much of anything, worthwhile to it. I was surprised that that was not the case. The first Croods movie really caught me off guard. She'll shut up soon. The first Croods movie caught me off guard. The trouble with having a dog and recording in the middle of the day. In the living room. The first Croods movie caught me off guard with how poignant its storytelling was and how, actually just fucking funny and entertaining it was. Has a great cast from Emma Stone as Eep to Ryan Reynolds and Nicolas Cage. Just so many great actors in this. And it was, like I said, it was really fun. I had a good time with it. It was creative, it was inventive, and it actually just proved itself to be a good movie. And I just recently found out the reason for that. See, I was looking up the character's name. I couldn't remember Eep's name, so I was looking it up prior to recording this. And I just noticed the director of the first Croods movie is Chris Sanders. The same Chris Sanders behind Lilo and Stitch and the recent Wild Robot movie. Of course I fucking liked it. It's like this dude is like gold. Everything he touches just works excellently. I think he was, was he behind How to Train Your Dragon as well? I think he was. I can just straight up look that up. I have it still here. Chris Sanders, Lilo and Stitch, Stitch the movie, Wild Robot, yep, How to Train Your Dragon, Stitch 2, Leroy and Stitch, oh, he was just behind all the Lilo and Stitch stuff. Mulan, apparently. But did he, direct a lot of this stuff, too? You gotta wonder. Because he does other stuff, like producing and whatnot. He did work visual development artist on Beauty and the Beast. That's fun. He was the story writer for Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King. Holy crap. He also was production designer for Lion King. He was the writer for Mulan. He was everything. Director, writer, other stuff. Character designer for Lilo and Stitch. Yep. How to Train Your Dragon, Croods. So he wrote the story for this one, The Croods: A New Age. But he was not director, and he didn't do anything else. He was just the story writer. So at least he stayed on. So there's at least that. He's just not the director for this one. But he did direct and he did write Wild Robot, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in the list of movies that I consider to be perfect, which is 8 movies long, I think, currently, out of the thousands I've seen. So that's saying a lot. And it's the only animated movie in that list. So that's also really interesting. But I tend to love like all of these things that he's worked on. So it's no surprise that I love the Croods. Um, so now we have the Croods New Age. And yeah, we left off. We had everything work out in the end. They reached their new home with the help of the was he a love interest for Eep? I don't remember 100% if they actually went there or if they kind of surprisingly held off on that. I think he was. Ryan Reynolds' character. I know that much. Like I said, it's been since March since I watched the first one, since I reacted to that, so I don't remember everything. But I do remember that for some reason they went really hard when they were drawing and animating Eep. It's like they made her so needlessly sexy. Not only just in her design, but specifically in the way they animated her. Like I used it for the thumbnail. If I turn down the brightness, I might be able to show you here. Um, Here, let me see if I can show you. I used it for the thumbnail. There's this shot of her like early on in the first movie, um, where she's like stretching on a rock, and it's like so needlessly sexy. Like it is very specifically drawn and animated to be attractive. And she's an adult character, so it's like it's fine, but it's like what the hell? Why? It was so intentional. And it's like just wild that they chose to do that. Um are they going to do that with this one? That's a question. I assume we're going to have our animal friends that we had in the first one. We're going to have the zany craziness of the younger child, the grandmother, and all. All of the same goofiness. I believe it's the entire same cast. I don't think there was anyone recast for this. Um, but I'm actually excited. Like even with a different director and all, the fact that Chris Sanders still stayed on and helped write the story for this and everything. Even if it's not as good, I have hopes that it's still going to be good. So we're gonna get into this. Thank you, Venom, for donating for this as always. And let's see what this second movie has in store. There's also two shows, but I don't know if I'm going to end up reacting to those. I don't know. It depends on if they're requested or not, maybe, I guess. But let's see what this second movie has in store for us. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day, Horizon Forbidden West on Mondays and Fridays, Tuesdays and Thursdays is Life is Strange, Wednesdays and Sundays is Red Dead Redemption 2, and on Saturdays we have Nier Automata. A lot of great gaming content every day. Don't forget to click the link in the description below to follow it to today's reaction. I redirect everything just due to copyright reasons. And please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I looked it up, and I watched the scene again as well. Them leaving was going to another room and just staying in a room together separately from the rest of the family, both families and all. That's what the leaving was. I was so confused on that. I just did not get that somehow. Even though it shows like on the bridge, they go into the other room and close the door. So it's like it felt like it's obvious when I watched it again, but I just somehow completely zoned out on that, I guess. I also looked up something because I was curious about the series. Apparently, the series is a sequel to this. But from what I'm reading here, only two of the VAs reprise their roles. Kelly Marie Tran is back as Dawn, and AJ Lacascio is Thunk. Um, who was apparently Thunk from Dawn of the Croods, but wasn't Thunk originally. And Dawn of the Croods is the 2D series of shorts, I think. But all the other characters are recast. Uga, Grug, Eep, everyone is recast. Other than those two. And technically, again, Thunk isn't even the same VA from the movies. And that happens a lot, where a lot of movies that spawn television shows have to recast their leads and just characters in general, because a lot of the times the movies will have big names who they just can't afford for a series budget. I'd still be willing to check it out, because as long as it's still a good show, it's like I don't entirely care. It definitely would affect like just my. It would definitely be noticeable. Let's put it that way. Especially not hearing like Nicolas Cage's voice specifically. But I think I'd be able to get over it. That being said, let's actually talk about my thoughts on this movie. This movie, I feel more than the first one, was very tropey. Very, and the first one had tropes and everything as well. But but this one more so had a lot more tropes, a lot more cliches, and I feel like in a lot of ways was a lot more predictable. But that being said, none of that ruined it for me. This was just as fun, just as entertaining, just as enjoyable. There were moments that were like just total what the fuck moments, like the Thunder Women or whatever they're called, the Thunder Sisters. Like the scene where they're just like introducing them and having the title card, the name cards pop up. It's like I'm just like losing it. And then the Banana Brothers bromance scene and everything. I do want to look something up. I didn't look this up between. I really want to look something up here. Because this is something that I really like was very confused on, and like not in terms of like the movie or whatnot, but yeah, okay. From what I'm seeing, it very much is a thing. Eep and Dawn are very much shipped together by people who like this movie. Apparently, even just when the first trailer dropped, a lot of people really shipped it, and they had like insane chemistry and everything. It seems to actually be a thing, to even where if you just put Eep and Dawn in the in Google, one of the people also ask searches is, are Eep and Dawn together? In fact, it's the very first one. Because it's like, I'm clearly not the only one. They had such insane chemistry. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Eep and Guy together. I think they're a great couple. But I honestly think Eep and Dawn had better chemistry. Like, I would not have been opposed to the idea of like them throwing a massive curveball our way with this, and having Eep and like Guy end up splitting up and having her getting with Dawn. But I knew they would never do that because, big name movie, big name animated film, it's not going to have queer representation. It's just not. Especially a movie that was actually advertised. It's not like that Strange World movie from Disney that apparently has one of its main characters being queer, but it was also excessively poorly advertised because of that, because Disney didn't believe in it. And the movie bombed very hard because of the lack of proper advertising and all. And I've heard that the most people's reactions to the movie are very mixed anyway. But yeah, also the queer relationship is barely a part of the film, from what I've heard too. So yeah, it's just unfortunately we're still at a time where queer representation is not as common as it needs to be, especially in film. In a lot of streaming shows, it's a lot more common nowadays, but films, it still just hasn't gotten there with animation yet, for the most part. There's maybe some exceptions here and there, but just generally speaking. But I think that they had phenomenal chemistry, and it definitely it was 100% like presented as more than just a friendship or a sisterhood. Like, come on, some of those shots, some of those scenes, the slow motion, the hand through the water, come on. Like, that was so actively romantic. It's like, I almost feel like the writers and creators of this would have made it romantic if they were allowed to. That they would have actually done that if they had the opportunity, but they just didn't get the option. That would have been a cool twist in its own right too, like having there be a love triangle, but instead of Guy, like almost getting together with her, even though Guy was never actually interested. But it would be interesting if Eep and her almost got there. That would have been really interesting. Um, yeah, a lot of the story beats and everything were very, cliche and everything. It's stuff you've seen before. Two different families of two completely different sides of the world and having very different outlooks on the world come together, they fight, they try to break each other up, and eventually they come together and become best friends in the end. It's like, yeah, we've seen that so many times before. It's so common. But again, it was executed in a very entertaining, fun way. I didn't mind the cliches, even though they didn't do anything particularly new with them. I still thought they worked out. And there was a lot of great humor in this, a lot of great character moments. The animation was still good. The music was great. I love the use of Partridge Family's. Lo- God, what is it called? It Way I Loved You or something like that. Give me a second. I have to find the soundtrack here again. I think I Love You. That's what it is. And having the credits have a Tenacious D cover of it, it's like the Tenacious D one is not as good as the original. The original has a very specific sound to it. Weirdly enough, the very beginning of the song almost has a horror sound to it. Like, I'm not kidding. I've always thought that the song sounded weirdly creepy. Like in the way that you think of like Halloween songs sound. Like that kind of creepy. I always thought the song sounded like that. Jack Black, Tenacious D's version, was not as creepy. It definitely it had Jack Black's typical rock vibe and everything. Kyle Gass as well, of course. I keep saying just Jack Black. Tenacious D, Kyle Gass. I keep forgetting about him. Tenacious D's typical rock vibe and everything. And it kind of took away a little bit from the song's sound, in my opinion. But the actual song played in the movie, so hey. I like one twist I didn't see coming though that I like is okay. So the tribe of punch monkeys and all the other variations, which by the way, that joke was fucking hilarious. That was probably the funniest joke in the movie for me. But they were the monsters that Phil was trying to protect them against with the bananas. And then there ended up being another bigger monster afterwards. That's fucking amazing. It's like, okay, we have the reveal of the monsters not being what you think, but also still being formidable. But then they also have a monster. I just think that's really funny. I think that's a really funny concept. The Bettermans were very clearly, again, the type of character you've seen in everything where it's like, okay, they start off antagonistic, they're a little too much, but by the end they work with and accept and compromise, as I was saying, with the Croods to form a bond. And they combine their kind of sides to things, which I like. because both sides had valid good and bad to them, and they needed to come together to help each other through that. And I like that we got to see that with this. So, yeah, it was very easy to see how it was going to go. But like I said, there were some things I didn't expect along the way. The wolf spiders, fucking hilarious. Like, just the concept of that is great. But also, like, they ended up being a valuable ally in the end. Them, the Croods and the Bettermans coming together and, like, befriending the wolf spiders ended up being insanely invaluable. And it's like, oh, okay. And then the Thunder Sisters thing caught me off guard. That ended up being a thing. Um, um, Guy, I don't know why his name was escaping me for a second there. Guy, speaking Punch Monkey was hilarious. It's like a lot of things like did catch me off guard. Even though a lot of it was by the books and a lot of it was very cliche and generalized and everything, stuff you see in everything, a lot of it did also surprise me. Um, and the characters were as great as ever. They were just as good as in the first movie. Had the same issues. I could almost see like them saying like Grug kind of like went back on his development in the first movie a little bit. But also I feel like it's Grug. That kind of makes sense. I also really like that Grug, after he was manipulated by Phil, thanks to his wife, realized that like pretty much right away the next scene. I like that they didn't hold on him like being manipulated and tricked for too long. It actually was like resolved right away. Because a lot of movies would have them hold on that for a long time and have the big reveal that he was, manipulated until much later on. But no, it was resolved right away, and I appreciate that. The entire drama with Guy, like, becoming obsessed with the Betterman's way of life, like, it's said in the movie pretty much that it makes sense because these were people who were extremely close to Guy growing up, extremely close to his parents, his family. They're basically the only original family he has left. So yeah, he would be very close to them. It makes sense, and it makes sense that he would naturally gravitate towards their way of life because of it. But the drama, the love drama is like that was the weakest part of the movie for me because it never feels natural. Anytime this is done in a movie, it's always so fabricated. And it's like it can be done well, but I don't think it's ever done great. Maybe with one or two exceptions here or there. I also really like that Eep never really felt like instant jealousy for or against Dawn. It almost looked like it was going to do that at first. But instead it kind of pulls the rug from under us and it's like, no, they just have insane chemistry and are just extremely close to each other right from the start. Okay. Just completely went against that trope. So some tropes were even subverted here. um, but yeah, there's a lot that I really love about this movie. Um, there's a couple things that don't work as well, of course. No movie's perfect, but I think that this was still really good. It was a great follow-up to the first film. It kept that spirit alive while being a little more cliche, but making it work. There were definitely some surprises. There was a lot of fun to be had, a lot of humor. I thought it was great. This was definitely exactly what I wanted from this movie. I I'm very happy with just how much this lifted my spirits. And I wasn't like in a bad mood or anything, but it still lifted my spirits and made me feel happy. And that's why I wanted to watch this. That's why I chose this one. I again, I saw it on my list and I'm like, I really want to check that out. It's been so long since I watched the first. I really should get to that. And it's like this, I just really want to see that today. And I'm so glad I did. I'm like just so happy that I chose to watch this today. But that being said, Tell me your thoughts on this movie in the comments below. And if there's anything that I didn't mention, like specifically, that you want to know my thoughts on, please feel free to ask. Uh, there's definitely some things I didn't bring up here. But yeah, just ask. I'll let you know. That being said, thank you once again so much for tuning in. Thank you to Venom for donating. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.